In the 6th year of my marriage to Elias Thorne. He said I couldn't compare to his old flame. She was serene and unworldly, he claimed, unlike me with my stench of money and calculating ways. If it weren't for the fear of me retaliating against his serene love, he wouldn't have stooped to staying in this marriage. I looked at the man I had spent 10 years of blood, sweat, and tears to raise to a pedestal. With a faint smile, I decided to grant him his wish. I was curious to see, without me, what kind of life could he and his serene old flame possibly create? Elias's friends in his circle never really liked me. A businesswoman is driven by profit, always at odds with an artist. Elias thought so too. He said I was calculating and materialistic. My head filled only with making money, reeking of the stench of copper coins. Ava, you really can't compare to Clara, he commented to his friends during a casual chat. His tone was wistful, tinged with regret. Coincidentally, I was standing right at the door, but my heart was calm. I just stood there quietly, listening to the conversation inside. I heard his friend ask him, "So you regret it?" The room fell silent. I didn't hear Elias's answer, but his friend seemed to have read his expression and teased. "If you regret it, it's not too late now. You could get a divorce. Clara has been single all these years." "No." Elias's voice was weary, slow. "Ava is too powerful. If we divorce, she will definitely take it out on Clara. And Clara, with her gentle and yielding nature, would be no match for her." Listening, I found it laughable. So he wasn't divorcing me to protect Clara. Involuntarily, I thought of a few days ago, when he had missed out on the Best Director award for the 3rd time. He had come home and smashed all his collections in a fit of rage, demanding a divorce with rimmed eyes. Why did I get married? Why? I was shocked and confused at the time, but the next day, he told me he was just emotional and had spoken out of turn. Now I knew. The unspoken words at that time were why the person by his side wasn't Clara. So, the divorce was what he truly wanted. Not divorcing was just his self-perceived stoic endurance. I lowered my eyes and squeezed my knuckles. Fine. I would grant him his wish. I was curious to see how, without my worldly ways, he could dedicate himself to his art. It was love at first sight for me with Elias, because he was incredibly handsome. The first time we met, he was a talented but unrecognized new director, while I had just started my own company and secured several popular IPs, building a certain reputation in the industry. I saw him huddled in the corner of a dim karaoke room, silently enduring the advances of a female investor, just to get his project off the ground. My heart ached for him, so I saved him. Later, we started working together. Over the years, I did everything I could to find him connections and investments, helping him create one work after another, making sure his creations were seen by everyone. For an opportunity, I could drink with investors until I was hospitalized with a bleeding stomach. For a promotion, I could throw money at platforms and grovel. But a sincere heart did not get a sincere heart in return. No matter what I did, he only saw me as calculating and materialistic, never as good as his serene, uncompetitive old flame. Well then, let's see if she can remain so uncompetitive when her interests are at stake. The first thing I did when I got back to the company was to pull all of Clara's endorsements and collaborations. My assistant was surprised and hesitated. "Ms. Croft, should we inform Mr. Thorne about this?" My hand, holding a fountain pen, paused. I looked up at him, my gaze sharp. My assistant looked a little guilty under my stare and stammered. "I was just thinking. Ms. Rose was, after all, highly recommended by Mr. Thorne. If you suddenly make this decision, Mr. Thorne might. An artist who cannot generate profit has no value to this company. Contact new artists for collaboration according to this list." I was concise, handing him the latest list. He took it cautiously, and seeing my expression, didn't dare to ask any more questions. But just as he turned to leave, I spoke again. "Leo, I hope you remember, I am the boss of this company." Leo's steps faltered. He didn't dare to look back, but it wasn't long. Elias stormed into my office. His first words were, "Why did you pull Clara's endorsements?" His face was cold, his tone accusatory. "You can't stand her that much. I told you. We're just friends now. Can you stop being so petty? Give her collaborations back to her now." Listening to his accusations, I found it somewhat amusing, as if certain that I had replaced her because I was jealous of their past relationship. Elias's eyes were filled with deep disappointment. Ava, don't drag Clara into our problems, he said. I didn't answer him. I just handed him the file in my hand and asked coldly, an artist who hasn't made a single penny for the company in 3 consecutive years. Why should I keep her? Clara was an actress. 6 years ago. For the sake of her dream. She had broken up with Elias and gone abroad to study. 3 years ago. She had returned. And at Elias's request. I had signed her to my company. Since then, she had been warming the bench. It wasn't that I hadn't tried to promote her. She refused to attend dinners, was picky with scripts, and was rude to clients during endorsement negotiations. She said she was an actress, not a performer for hire. Such lowly tactics would destroy her artistic integrity. She had integrity. She was high-minded. But why should I have to pay for her high-mindedness? I tapped my fingers on the desk. I've supported her for 3 years, and she hasn't earned a single cent for the company. But hearing me say this, Elias's voice grew even angrier. Money, money, money. Ava, is money all you see? Do you even understand what art is? To measure our work with money is the greatest insult to us. The more he spoke, the more agitated he became. In the end, he looked at me as if I were some kind of disgusting trash. Looking into his eyes, I still felt a chill. I felt that all my years of effort had been for nothing. This was the man I had painstakingly raised to a pedestal, enjoying everything I had given him, while despising my stench of money. Very well. From now on, I was done serving him. I waited until he had finished, then calmly showed him the door. My decision is final. Elias looked displeased. He stared at me for a long time, then suddenly asked, if I can't create value, will you replace me too? I heard the threat in his voice. I leaned back in my chair, met his gaze, and uttered a single, concise word. Yes. Elias seemed not to have expected such a direct answer. A flicker of disbelieving hurt crossed his eyes. Then, as if in a fit of pique, he slammed the file back on the desk and stormed out. I made no move, but not long after he left, I called Human Resources. Fire Leo Miller. Get me a new assistant. Anyone whose heart was not with me, I would not keep. Elias started a cold war with me. He packed his things and moved into his studio. I didn't care, but a week later, one evening, I came home to find him waiting on the sofa. I had just finished a business dinner. I had been drinking, and the cold wind had given me a headache. I took off my shoes and walked in. I had intended to go straight to the bedroom, but as I passed him, he suddenly called out, Ava, have you had enough of your tantrum? His voice was even colder than before. I stopped. I wasn't surprised he had come back tonight, but I wasn't feeling well and couldn't be bothered to talk. I don't want to fight tonight. We can talk tomorrow. I waved my hand and tried to leave, but he grabbed my wrist. You knew Clara wanted the Vista collaboration, yet you took Chloe to see Mr. Lee. Were you trying to humiliate Clara on purpose? His tone was accusatory. Normally, I might have patiently explained, but now, my temples were throbbing. I pulled my hand away forcefully, my voice dripping with coldness. When I wanted to take Clara, what did she say? She said she couldn't do that kind of groveling. My voice was laced with sarcasm as I looked at him. So, she can't do it, but she won't let anyone else try. Chloe and Clara were both artists under my company. They had similar styles in the entertainment industry, but Chloe was much more flexible than Clara. I had taken her to the dinner tonight, and the negotiations had gone very smoothly. Elias, is this what you call creating value for you? For a little bit of money? You have no principles at all. You're insulting Clara. You're insulting art. A little bit of money. I looked at him as if he were a fool, too tired to say more. But as I was about to go to the bedroom, he blocked my way again. Take Clara to see Mr. Lee tomorrow, he said, his voice much lower than before, a hint of awkwardness and unease on his face. I frowned, thinking I had misheard. You want me to help Clara get a backdoor deal? Was that her idea? I asked. I found it amusing. Wasn't Clara always the one who was uncompetitive? My words made his face flush. Seeing me staring at him, he impatiently pulled his hand back. If it weren't for you, Clara wouldn't have to be so wronged. This collaboration is very important to Clara, he emphasized, his voice filled with pity for her. Clara is even willing to accompany you to a place like that. What more do you want? Listening, I almost laughed out loud. Wasn't she supposed to be serene and unworldly? I rolled my eyes and crossed my arms. Don't force yourself. I think Clara is right. A true gem will shine eventually. Tell her not to worry. He was speechless. He stared at me for a long time. His lips pressed together. Ava, don't take your anger with me out on Clara. She has a gentle and yielding nature. She's not like you. My temples throbbed. I hugged my arms, digging my nails into my biceps, and smiled. Then let her keep it that way. Ava, how could you be this kind of person? His eyes were filled with disbelief. I was disgusted. My head was already hurting. And now with his yelling, a wave of nameless anger washed over me. I thought of his comments about me to his friends. I couldn't hold it back anymore. I exploded. Isn't this the kind of person I've always been in your heart? I yelled back, seeing his shocked expression. I pointed a finger at his chest and said, word for word, calculating, materialistic, reeking of the stench of money. With each word, I poked his chest, because each of these labels was already engraved on his heart. I am a businesswoman. Everything is about profit. I have always been this kind of person. From the first day you met me, this is who I was. I have never changed. Elias, you enjoy everything I have brought you, and now you come here to question me. To question why I haven't become your serene, uncompetitive old flame. With each sentence, I took a step forward. This was the first time I had spoken so sharply. In front of him, I had always been reserved, carefully protecting this artist's sensitive and fragile ego, never touching on his past heartbreak. But now, I was done. Because in his heart, no matter how well I did, I could never compare to his Clara. He was forced back step by step. In the dim light, his face grew darker and darker. Finally, with nowhere to retreat, he stood his ground, his face unnatural. I thought you would change, he said in a low voice. I pulled my hand back, forcing back the pain in my temples, and sneered. Elias, 5 years ago, when I got you your first investment, why didn't you ask me to change then? We parted on bad terms. As he left, his eyes were filled with disappointment. I felt a chill in my heart. He hadn't noticed my discomfort at all, but it didn't matter anymore, because I was done with this man. But after being dragged into a fight with him late at night, I didn't sleep well. Then, I was woken up early the next morning by a phone call. My head was pounding. I picked it up, and as soon as I answered, I heard my assistant's panicked yell, "Ms. Croft, something's happened at the company." When I arrived at the company, the office was crowded with people. What's going on? In the crowd, I saw Clara, Chloe, and Elias. The moment Chloe saw me, she came over to complain. "Ms. Croft, you promised me Mr. Lee's collaboration. But this morning, they told me that Mr. Thorne had finalized it with Clara in your name. What is the meaning of this?" Chloe was trembling with anger. "I spent all last night groveling to you, and you both promised me this collaboration in front of me. Now you're just giving it to her." My face darkened. I put a hand on Chloe's to calm her. "Don't worry. You were the one who negotiated the deal. No one can take it away." My gaze fell on Clara. Clara, true to her name, was a typical Southern woman, cool and distant. Hearing me, her eyes held a hint of hurt and grievance. But she said nothing. As was her custom, she neither argued nor defended herself. But how could Elias bear to see his beloved wronged? Seeing her expression, he immediately and forcefully ordered me. "Ava, Mr. Lee's collaboration was meant for Clara. It should be given to her." What a hero. I watched my husband stand in front of another woman, his face stern towards me. A wave of nausea washed over me. "Mr. Thorne, what do you mean it was meant for Clara? Clara, you tell me. Why should this collaboration be given to you? Did you do any of the work?" Chloe was not one to back down. She pointed a finger directly at Clara's face. Hearing this, Clara bit her lip as if she had suffered a great injustice. She looked at me, then at Elias, and said, "I have nothing to say. Whatever you say, is what it is." "What do you mean?" "Whatever I say is what it is." "Clara, you make yourself clear." Chloe exploded, ready to lunge at her. I stopped her. "There's nothing more to say. This matter is closed. Chloe, prepare to sign the contract with Mr. Lee." I didn't spare Clara a glance and instructed my assistant to take Chloe away. This whole mess in the morning had thrown the entire company into chaos. I rubbed my throbbing temples and glanced at Clara and Elias. Since you know your own limitations, don't cause any more trouble for the company in the future. Clara was provoked by my words. I saw her knuckles turn white and sneered inwardly. It seemed Clara was not the truly serene and unworldly person I had imagined. It was just an act she put on for Elias. And Elias, who was a sucker for this act, saw how forceful I was being and how much face he had lost. His face turned a mix of green and white, then completely darkened. I told you the boss is the one in charge. The boss's wife is just protecting her little lover. She really has no clue. The boss used to let her have her way. But what woman wants a fly buzzing around her face all the time? The boss's wife really has no say in the company. He just pampers her and teases her for fun. Whispers spread through the crowd. They were even less pleasant to Elias's ears, especially losing face in front of his beloved old flame. He lost his temper and gave me an ultimatum. Ava, if you don't agree today, we're getting a divorce. The entire room fell silent. In the dead silence, I said with a blank expression, "Are you divorcing me for Clara?" My question was clever. There were many company employees present. Hearing me say this, their gazes towards Elias and Clara were no longer innocent. Ms. Croft, this is your personal matter. Although Elias and I have a past, we are just friends and confidants now. Why are you trying to smear us? I laughed. At this moment, Clara's mouth was no longer speechless, so she knew that if she was labeled a homewrecker in front of so many people, her career in the entertainment industry would be over. But her explanation at this moment sounded like a classic case of denial, because a murmur rose from the crowd. But didn't Mr. Thorne just say that if she didn't agree, they would get a divorce? The voice was not loud, but it was clearly heard. Clara's face turned even paler. She swayed on her feet. Elias's face was as dark as a thundercloud. Why must you hurt an innocent person? Clara just wants to pursue her art in peace. You can't stand her that much. You have to destroy her. My head was pounding. I was now realizing that communicating with an artist like Elias was truly exhausting. Their logic was completely unconventional. I waved my hand, too tired to waste any more time. Elias, this matter is not up for discussion. As for what you just said, I will contact a lawyer to draft the divorce papers. My words made him freeze. He hadn't expected me to agree to a divorce. But in front of everyone, his pride and ego wouldn't allow him to press the matter further. In the end, he could only leave with Clara, defeated. But he still didn't believe I would divorce him. He still thought I was playing a game of retreat to advance. Another one of my tricks. So, for the next few days, he continued to live at his studio. He didn't know that I had been slowly withdrawing the resources and connections I had invested in him. By not investing in someone with no value, my company had reached a new level of success. I now realized how ridiculous I had been before. All these years of pouring money and resources into Elias, letting him make one and profitable film after another, had stagnated my company's growth for so long. I felt like I had been a huge fool. Fortunately, that was no longer the case. Finally, Elias realized something was wrong. When the lease on his studio was up, and the landlord contacted him, he came to find me again. Your tactics are so low. To force me to come back, you actually canceled my studio lease. This time, he didn't even have his previous composure. His eyes were bloodshot, and his tall figure blocked my desk, glaring down at me. I could even hear the grinding of his teeth. I nodded, and only after signing the last document did I spare a moment to reply. After the Golden Chalice Awards, you told me not to stand in the way of your artistic pursuit. I thought that made sense. Coincidentally, the divorce papers have been drawn up. If there are no problems, you can sign them today. Elias looked at the documents I handed him, a dazed expression on his face. Last time, I was just. He held the papers, stammering. I knew what he wanted to say, but I didn't play along. I just handed him another fountain pen. I know. Our relationship has had its problems. We're not on the same path after all. I am a businesswoman. You're an artist, I added. Elias looked at my hand, suspended in mid-air. My ring finger was bare. His gaze darkened. You even took off your ring. Hearing this, I couldn't help but scoff. My gaze followed my hand and fell on his ring finger, which was also empty. The difference was, I had only recently taken mine off, but Elias had never worn his since we got married. I may be a businesswoman, but I am also a woman, with a girl's heart. I had looked forward to wearing matching rings with him, our fingers intertwined, showing them off to everyone we knew. I felt it was a silent declaration that I was Elias Thorne's legitimate wife. But when we got married, there was no wedding ceremony, not even a social media announcement. We just picked a day we were both free and went to the city hall. The moment we came out, he went back to his film set. Despite all this, I still put in the effort to buy a pair of matching rings and give them to him. But until now, the man's ring was still sitting in some drawer in his room. I came back to my senses and met his gaze, then put down the pen. Elias, I heard what you said that day. Don't worry, even if we divorce, I won't retaliate against Clara. I promised, because I couldn't be bothered. I was the one who initiated the divorce. Yet Elias hesitated. He moved back from his studio. But even under the same roof, we barely spoke. In the past, he would be the one with the cold face, and I would be the one trying to make conversation. But now that I was silent, the house was chillingly quiet. One night, it was Clara who brought him home. Elias had been drinking. She helped him to the sofa, just as I was coming out of the bedroom. I frowned. The sight of this stranger in my home made me uncomfortable. But Clara was composed. Seeing me, she took the initiative to explain. Ms. Croft, Elias has been in a very bad mood lately. He drank too much tonight because of you two. I hear you want to divorce him. She asked cautiously. I lowered my eyes, said nothing, and went to the kitchen island to pour myself a glass of water. I stood there, watching them. Perhaps my gaze was too cold. Clara's expression became a little unnatural. After a moment of thought, as if she had summoned all her courage, she approached me and said softly, Ms. Croft, I was the one who left Elias back then, so I don't blame him for choosing you, but I hope you can be good to him. If he's happy, I won't have any regrets. I found this amusing. I took a sip of water and asked in a cold voice, Clara, do you think you're some kind of saint? Because you came back and didn't interfere in our relationship. Just stood quietly on the sidelines as a harmless old flame. Do you have any idea that a proper old flame should pretend to be dead? I put down my glass and mocked her. I saw her face darken, and a flicker of hatred passed through her eyes. Serene and unworldly. A truly uncompetitive person wouldn't have had Elias arrange for her to be in my company. These past few years, while I was busy finding connections and resources for him, she would either make sarcastic remarks or throw cold water on everything, positioning herself as a person of high moral standing, as if she were above it all. But was she really like that? Clara, you don't need to have any regrets. Elias, the great artist, is not suitable for a penny pinching businesswoman like me. You two are a much better match, I said with a smile. Her face was not good. She looked at me in disbelief. Her eyes read, Ms. Croft, if you think so, there's nothing I can do, she said, her eyes filled with tears, her expression stubborn and cold. But between Elias and me, we are just confidants, best friends. My eyelid twitched. I was growing impatient. Right, your confidants. Like a flowing river and high mountains. A worldly person like me wouldn't understand you or him. From today on, I will no longer stand in the way of either of you pursuing your art. My money stinks. Don't let it dirty you. Clara was speechless. I clearly saw the flicker of resentment in her eyes when she heard my words. Serene and unworldly. What a joke. Is that what you think of us? Just then, a voice came from the sofa. Clara and I both looked over to see Elias, who had been lying on the sofa, slowly sit up. His face was still red, but his eyes were clear. He wasn't drunk. He had heard everything. He looked at me, his expression cold. You really think I can't live without you? You really think everything I have these past few years was given by you? That I'd be nothing without you? I raised an eyebrow. I wanted to praise him for his self-awareness, but I held back. But Elias saw the mockery in my eyes, and his features twisted even more. He pushed himself up from the sofa and staggered towards me. He grabbed my arm, his whole body pressing against me, and gritted his teeth. Ava, I will prove you wrong. A true gem will shine wherever it goes. As he spoke, the smell of alcohol washed over me. Looking at his angry, contorted face, I suddenly thought he wasn't as handsome as he used to be. I suddenly remembered the past. When I had saved him, he had sat on the steps waiting for me. I reeked of alcohol. I hadn't even said a word to him before I threw up against a lamppost. A complete mess. He didn't leave, nor did he come closer. He just stood there, clutching his canvas bag, watching me anxiously. In the corner of my eye, a white shirt, black trousers, no tie. He looked clean and innocent. Are you just standing there to laugh at me? I straightened up and looked at him. He said nothing, but suddenly took a bottle of water from his bag and handed it to me. Are you an investor too? He asked. I was stunned. In his clear eyes, a mischievous thought suddenly came to me. I took the bottle and deliberately brushed my hand against his. Little brother, I just saved you from the fire. Are you going to jump right back in? I guessed that although he looked younger than me, he was actually older. After all, I had been working since I graduated from middle school. I had none of the naivety of a college student, only a worldliness that was beyond my years. And he was the complete opposite. Sure enough, he was scared by my words. But just as I thought he was about to run away, he seemed to have a long internal struggle, then took a step forward, his face red, and said, "Then, is it okay if it's just with you?" I froze, looking at his handsome face. For the first time, my mind went blank. So, the great artist had clearly chosen the worldly, yet he pretended to be so high-minded. Elias signed the divorce papers and offered to leave with nothing. The lawyer came to ask for my opinion. Hesitating, Ms. Croft, both you and Mr. Thorne have a certain social influence. If you let him leave with nothing, will it affect your public image? I laughed. What kind of image did a worldly woman like me have to be afraid of losing? I signed the papers without a second thought. News of my divorce from Elias quickly spread through our circle. Interestingly, it was all congratulations for him for escaping a miserable fate. I told you, Elias is an artist. Ava is too calculating. She's not good enough for him. Exactly. Before, Ava's company was just using him for publicity. Now, it's over. They'll go their separate ways. And she won't be able to use him anymore. Just waiting for her company to go bankrupt. Everyone was convinced that without his fame, my company would be at a standstill in the entertainment industry. And Elias, as if spurred on, quickly found new investors and began preparing for his new film, casting Clara as his leading lady. The film was already generating buzz before it was even released. It attracted many actors in the industry. Many from my own company wanted to audition. Even Chloe came to me, eager to try. But I gave her a different script. Ms. Croft, this is a low-budget web series. Chloe looked hesitant. After all, everyone was paying attention to Elias's new film. Even a supporting role in it had attracted many second and third-tier actors to audition. But at this time, I remained still. Chloe, Ms. Croft, even though you and Mr. Thorne are divorced, there's no need to be so distant with normal company collaborations, right? I hear he's preparing this film to compete for the Golden Globe. She was trying to persuade me indirectly. I didn't take the bait. I just said, the salary for the web series is this much. I gestured with my fingers. Chloe, I'll go prepare for the web series costume fitting. I smiled, watching her leave. Not surprised by her choice, my gaze returned to the computer screen, to an interview with Elias about his new film. He said it was a purely artistic study. Everyone involved was a person with a high artistic pursuit, and they would surely present the most perfect artistic feast, treating art as a study. I was curious to see what kind of masterpiece he could create. Elias's new film took 3 years to make. In those 3 years, my company had already reaped the first wave of benefits from web series and had tripled its annual profit. Chloe had also gained both fame and fortune, participating in an acting variety show and then being noticed by a major director, starring in several works. Some people still called me calculating, but they all admired the diverse talents of the artists under my management. I produced variety shows, TV series, idols, concerts. People in the industry said I would do anything to make money, and that whatever I did, I would make money, gradually. They also forgot about my past relationship with Elias, until he emerged with his new film. Only then did everyone once again associate my name with his. After his divorce 3 years ago, director Thorne has been focusing on this one film, and he even cast Clara as the lead. I hear the script was based on her. So, an artist, unburdened by worldly affairs, is bound to create a masterpiece. Of course, director Thorne's work was already well regarded in the industry 3 years ago, and now, free from the constraints of that capitalist, Ava Croft, everyone was looking forward to his work. The film was also heavily promoted in this direction. Then, after the premiere, the internet exploded. What the hell is this? He kept this under wraps for 3 years. Am I just not getting art? Is this really Elias Thorne's work? I could come up with something better while taking a dump. That lead actress. That's Clara. Right. The same expression throughout the whole movie. And can someone tell me? $1 billion investment. And this is what they made. Is this a money laundering scheme? Elias, if you're being forced to participate in this, just blink. Watching the comments scroll by, I sat in front of my computer, silently took a sip of my coffee, and let out a soft TSK. This result is really not surprising at all. Elias's career completely tanked. When one person fails, others will dig up their past. And so, all of his previous works were scrutinized, and everyone discovered that the details didn't hold up. The techniques were unrefined. It gave the impression that no one knew how he had gotten famous in the first place. Of course, they didn't know. I knew, because all of his works had been painstakingly promoted by me through countless marketing accounts. If the content was weak, I would push the sentimentality. If the technique was off, I would dig up some on-screen couple chemistry. If the details were rough, I would exaggerate the storytelling. Basically, to promote him, I had stopped at nothing. He had no idea. He just thought he was a gem that had suddenly been discovered by the public after he met me, and had started to shine. And now, without me, I really didn't know what his serene, unworldly old flame would do. I was very much looking forward to it. Clara also tanked. As the female lead, she was naturally in the spotlight, especially since this was her only leading role. So when the film failed, she was inevitably blamed. But when she was interviewed and asked about her thoughts on the failure, her reaction was indifferent. Those who are willing to appreciate it will appreciate it. Those who are not cannot be forced. The reporter's face immediately fell. The film had been so heavily criticized. The other creators were practically on their knees apologizing to the public. But the female lead, Clara, had a "it's not my problem" attitude. To ease the tension, the reporter quickly tried to lighten the mood. It's not that we're unwilling to appreciate it. We just saw that many netizens are saying that if Ms. Rose would be willing to perform a dance, they would give the film another chance and go see it again. The reporter was giving her an out, but Clara just frowned, a look of insulted hurt on her face. I am an actress, not a performer for hire. Besides, true art doesn't need to be defined by the market. People who don't understand art don't need to waste their money on a ticket. The reporter was silent. The interview ended. I closed my tablet, looked up at my assistant who was waiting by my desk, and let out a soft laugh. Contact the investors of this film for me. Clara's "don't understand art, waste a ticket" became a new internet meme. She was jokingly called Miss Know It All. And 3 months later, another film, produced by my company with the original crew, was released. Well, not exactly the original crew, because the director and the female lead had been replaced. But all the costumes and sets were reused from the previous film. And this film, from the day it was released, sold out in theaters. The story was simple, the pace was light, and it catered to the market. Netizen: sorry, I don't understand art. I just want to spend my money on a good time. I even repurposed all the costumes and sets, turning them into a popular tourist attraction, which boosted the local tourism industry. The investors turned a profit and were so happy they wanted to worship me. The next time I saw Elias and Clara was at a business dinner hosted by an investor. Elias was actually with Clara, apologizing to the investor. But Clara had a sour look on her face. 3 years had passed, and Elias had changed a lot. The once radiant man was now bowing and scraping to an investor. When he saw me, a flash of panic crossed his face. I walked over with confidence. When the investor saw me, his face lit up. He completely ignored Elias and Clara and came over to greet me. Elias was sensible enough to take the hint. He didn't greet me and immediately left with Clara. I didn't pay them any mind, but after the dinner, as I was walking to the parking lot, I happened to overhear their argument. Elias, where's your pride? Where's your integrity? You're an artist. How could you stoop so low? Groveling to Mr. Zhang. You've disappointed me so much. Clara, it's not the time for that. Your attitude will ruin us. Later, we'll go apologize to Mr. Zhang again. See if we can get another chance. Elias, opportunities aren't begged for. If he wants to give it, he will. If not, begging is useless. Clara, you're really no match for Ava. That line sounded familiar. I glanced over at Elias's powerless, raging figure in the distance, and my smile deepened. Elias never came to find me, but later, I heard he had switched to directing adult films. And Clara, I heard she was still his leading lady. But what did any of that have to do with me? Because at this very moment, I was standing on the stage at my company's new project launch, sharing with everyone my path of copper stench.